Hello, teacher. Well, my name is Mauricio, and today I'm going to present my end term work for Literature 3. Um, the book that I chose for this occasion is called Their Eyes Were Watching God. Um, it is a novel written by Zora Neale Hurston. Um, well, it is one of the most famous works in African American literature, and it tells the story of a woman who searches for love, identity, and freedom. But before I start talking about the novel, I would like to share a little bit about the author, right? So, Zora Neale Hurston was born in Alabama in 1891, but she grew up in Eatonville, Florida, which was an all black town, right? And that place really shaped her vision. It was a community where black people could live freely, let's say, without white control. And this was very weird at the time. Then, growing up in Eatonville, um, growing up in that town also gave her a strong sense of pride and independence. She saw black people running their own schools and their own business, government, and this experience later became an important part of her writing and the way she represented black life and black people in her stories. And also her parents were both hardworking people and educated. Her father was a preacher and her mother was a teacher. Now, continuing with a little bit about her education and early career, she studied at Howard University, and later she went to Barnard College, and there she focused on anthropology, right? She was not only a writer, she was also an anthropologist who loved studying black folklore, stories, and traditions. Then in the 1920s, she became part of the Harlem Renaissance, um, which was a powerful cultural movement that celebrated African American art, literature, and music. Uh, During that time, she met other famous artists and writers, and let's say that her work started to gain attention for showing the beauty and the strength of black culture at the time, right? Throughout her career, Zora wrote novels, short stories, essays, plays, um, and many other works. Um, some of her most famous works include the one that I chose, Their Eyes Were Watching God. Um, so here we have many, many of her works, right? For example, Tell My Horse, Mules and Men, Dust Trucks on a Road, and many other very famous works. Um, Her writing often focused on everyday life, on language, but the most important topics that she wrote about had to do with the strength of black women, right? Um, Even though she was very talented and very creative, her work was not very appreciated while she was alive. Sorry, sorry, sorry about my cat. Her work was not very appreciated when she was alive, um, and she faced financial problems, and she lived a modest life, right? And she passed away in 1960 in Florida. Um, However, years later, people kind of rediscovered her books and her other works, and today she's very recognized as one of the most important voices in American literature. So, her works are very important because she celebrated black culture, language, and everyday community life, right? Especially focusing on the strength and experiences of black women. Um, but one of the things that made her writing special was her use of real and natural speech, right? She wrote the way people actually talked. Let's say using her people slangs, and yeah, simple language, right? And these gave her characters authentic voices and showed pride in their way of speaking. Now, for many years, um, her work was almost forgotten, like I said before, but in the 1970s, a writer, a writer called Alice Walker rediscovered um, some of her works, and it helped bring it back to the public. And since then, Hurston has been celebrated as one of the most influential and powerful writers in African American literature. So this novel was published in 1937 during the Harlem Renaissance, and this was a time when many black artists and writers were expressing pride in their identity and culture. But something that made this novel special was that it was focused on a black woman's voice, dreams, and independence, and this was something very rare for that period. So here, Hurston told the story of a woman searching for her own happiness and freedom in a world and in a time where people try to control her. So this book, this novel, mixes realism, folklore, and some elements of feminist fiction that creates a very powerful story about love, identity, and someone who is trying to discover herself, right? Now, this novel is a bit long, but here I try to write a very brief summary of what is going on here without going into every detail that happens throughout the novel. But basically, the novel is about Jane Crawford, um, who is a black woman who lives in Florida in the early 90s. And she shares her life story with her best friend, Phoebe, and she marries three times. And throughout her three marriages, Jane learns what love, freedom, and being herself really mean. So, in her first marriage, which was arranged by her grandmother, this marriage gives her safety but not real happiness. Then, in her second marriage, her husband gives her money and respect, but he tries to control her and he doesn't let her speak, or let her share her opinions, let her take their own decisions. And then with her third husband, Tea Cake, she finally finds real love and friendship, but she also faces some difficult moments that kind of test her strength. So overall, the novel is about Jane's search to find her voice and live life um, as she wants. So some of the main themes in the novel that I wrote is the search for identity, because Jane's whole journey is about, as I said before, discovering who she really is, and she learns to listen to her own voice, instead of living and doing everything that others expect from her. And then love and freedom. The story shows that real love is not about control or power, it's about respect, support, and equality between two people in a relationship. Then also gender and power. So here, Hurston explores how women, especially black women, are often limited by man and by society, and Jane learns to challenge all of those limits, and learns to make her own choices and take her own decisions. Then, of course, race and community. Um, the novel celebrates black culture, language, and traditions, and it also shows both the beauty and the difficulties um, that living in a black community implies. And last but not least, nature and spirituality. So nature, like trees, the sun, and the storm, all of these elements reflects Jane's emotions and grow. It shows the connection between human life and the natural world. Now, going on with the main characters, we have first, of course, Jenny Crawford. She is the protagonist and the heart of the story. She is strong, she is an independent woman who goes on a long journey to understand love, freedom, and herself. And in the novel, we can see how she grows, how she learns many things, and how she becomes true to herself, let's say. Then we also have Tea Cake. He is Jane's third husband and her true love. He brings joy, he brings adventure and equality into her life, and it is with him that she finally experiences a relationship built on love and respect. Then we have Joe Starks. He is her second husband. He's very ambitious, confident, and he also wants to be very powerful. But as I said before, he's the one who tries to control Jenny and silence her voice. Then we also have Logan Killix. He is Jenny's first husband. He is chosen by Jenny's grandmother, and he gives her stability and comfort, but no love and no passion. So he represents society's idea that a woman should marry only because of safety and, yes, in order to be protected, and not for happiness. Then we have Phoebe Watson. She is Jenny's best friend and the person who listens to her story. So in the novel, basically she represents um, friendship. And finally, we have Nanny Crawford. She's Jenny's grandmother, and she loves Jenny, but her voice, um, sorry, her love is mixed with fear. Let's say fear of being poor and the harsh world that black women faced at that time. And because of that, she forces Jenny to marry Logan, and marriage, even though Jenny didn't love him, always thinking it would protect her, right? So Nani represents the older generation's difficulties and the desire to survive after slavery. So I chose this author because it's a very powerful story about a woman learning to find her own voice and freedom in a society and in a time that often try to silence her. And Jenny's story shows, um, courage and the search for true happiness, even when life is full of difficulties and obstacles. Then something that um, stood out most to me is how Jenny discovers that real love and freedom come from being honest with yourself and yes, living on your own terms. And she learns that you cannot depend on others to define who you are, and yeah, you have to create your own path, basically. And the novel the novel also connects to history and culture. It's part of the Harlem Renaissance, as I already said, a time when African American artists and writers began to express pride in their identity. And the novel also shows what it was like for black women in the early 90s. Their struggles, their dreams, and their constant fight to be heard. So this is it. Hope you like it, and thanks for watching.